person wakes up early in the morning, checks their phone, and sees the familiar rhythm of modern life waiting for them. There is a salary coming in every month, bills leaving every week, and somewhere in between there is the quiet belief that this system will eventually lead to stability. Many people would describe this situation as financially responsible. The income is steady, the expenses are managed, and there is no obvious crisis. Yet when you zoom out across years or even decades, something strange begins to appear. Despite working consistently and earning more over time, the actual growth of wealth often moves far more slowly than expected. This quiet pattern is sometimes called the middle-class wealth trap. The trap is not about laziness or poor decision-making. In fact, most people inside it are doing exactly what society encourages. They pursue education, secure stable employment, increase their income gradually, and maintain a lifestyle that reflects their progress. On the surface, this structure seems logical. Income rises, living standards rise, and financial life appears balanced. The problem is that wealth does not grow according to the same rules as income. Wealth is governed by accumulation and compounding, while the middle-class structure is primarily organized around consumption and stability. To understand this difference, imagine two flows of money moving through a person's life. The first flow is income, which enters through salary or wages. The second flow is expenses, which include housing, transportation, food, insurance, taxes, and lifestyle costs. For many households, these two flows remain very close to each other, meaning that most income eventually exits the system. Even when salaries increase, expenses often expand in parallel through slightly larger homes, newer vehicles, improved services, or higher expectations for comfort. This pattern is known in behavioral economics as lifestyle inflation. Lifestyle inflation is not usually dramatic. It happens gradually and almost invisibly. A small salary increase leads to a slightly higher rent. A promotion encourages the purchase of a more expensive car. A growing family requires larger living space. Each individual decision feels reasonable, and none of them appear reckless. But over long periods of time, the mathematical result is that the gap between income and expenses remains narrow, and that narrow gap is exactly where long-term wealth must grow. When that gap stays small, the power of compounding has very little material to work with. Consider a simplified example. If someone invests a modest amount each month, the growth of that investment depends heavily on time and consistency. But if the amount invested remains small relative to income, the compounding curve grows slowly for many years. Meanwhile, the financial system surrounding the individual continues to extract regular payments through mortgages, subscriptions, taxes, interest, and maintenance costs. This is where the structure of the middle-class financial model becomes clearer. Much of the income that flows into the system is redirected toward assets that provide utility, but not strong financial growth. A home provides shelter, a vehicle provides mobility, and various services provide convenience. These things improve daily life, but they do not always generate compounding returns in the same way that financial assets can. Over time, the result is a stable but slow-moving financial trajectory. Income increases, living standards improve, and the household appears financially secure. Yet when measured purely through accumulated assets, capable of generating independent income, the progress may be more limited than expected. This is why many people discover that decades of work have produced stability, but not necessarily large financial flexibility. The middle-class wealth trap is therefore less about individual behavior and more about systemic structure. Modern economies are designed to support consistent consumption and predictable financial obligations. Salaries circulate through housing markets, consumer markets, and service industries in a way that keeps economic activity moving. Within this system, maintaining stability becomes the central objective. Understanding this structure does not require abandoning stability or rejecting the middle-class lifestyle. Instead, it reveals a subtle but important distinction between income and wealth. Income supports life in the present, while wealth represents accumulated resources that can operate independently of time and labor. Once that difference becomes visible, financial decisions often begin to shift slightly. The focus moves from simply increasing income toward increasing the portion of income that can remain invested long enough to compound. Even small adjustments in that direction can change the trajectory of wealth over long periods, because compounding responds not just to size, but also to consistency and time. The middle-class wealth trap, then, is not a dramatic financial failure. It is a quiet structural pattern where stability and consumption gradually absorb most available income, leaving only a small channel for compounding wealth to grow. Recognizing that pattern does not guarantee any specific outcome, but it can change how people interpret the financial system they move through every day.